Vladimir Putin has proposed holding direct peace talks with Ukraine after getting an ultimatum to agree to a 30-day ceasefire from the West. Speaking to reporters at the Kremlin in the early hours of Sunday, Putin said he is ready to restart negotiations that Russia and Ukraine held in 2022. It comes after Ukraine and 4 European leaders pressed Russia to accept a 30-day unconditional ceasefire starting Monday or face painful sanctions. The ultimatum was given after talks in Kyiv attended by President Volodymyr Zelensky and the leaders of Britain, France, Germany, and Poland. The U.S. and other countries back the proposal, they said. The Kremlin spokesman told CNN that Moscow will think through the proposal, but stressed there are lots of questions remaining and that Russia is resistant to any kind of pressure. Now, Putin says he wants to hold direct talks with Ukraine in Turkey on May 15th. The dictator said, "It was not Russia that broke off negotiations in 2022. It was Kyiv. Nevertheless, we are proposing that Kyiv resume direct negotiations without any preconditions. Despite everything, we offer the Kyiv authorities to resume negotiations already on Thursday in Istanbul." Let me remind you that as a result of these negotiations, a joint draft document was prepared, and it was annealed by the head of the Kyiv negotiating group, but at the insistence of the West, it was thrown into the trash. A smirking Putin, who has repeatedly bombarded civilians in Ukraine and was accused of breaking the 3-day ceasefire, said Kyiv failed to respond to his peace proposals. He said, "Kyiv authorities have not responded to any of our ceasefire proposals." But the tyrant has now agreed to hold direct talks with Kyiv. It comes after Sir Keir Starmer joined leaders from France, Germany, and Poland to issue a tough ultimatum to Russia as they visited war-torn Kyiv to mark the end of V-Day week. The coalition of the willing group pushed Russia to agree to a 30-day ceasefire deal in just 24 hours. If Moscow refuses, it will be hit with more crippling sanctions which targets their lucrative oil trade in a bid to grind down its wartime economy. Russia's banking sector will also be targeted. Crucially, Donald Trump backed the plan, piling massive pressure on Putin to sign up to the peace deal or face America's wrath. Last week, Washington announced it would no longer act as the mediator to negotiate a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine after Putin refused to accept a full ceasefire. The State Department said the country is changing the methodology of how we contribute to the talks and will no longer fly around the world at the drop of a hat for meetings. Battle for peace. The Sun on Sunday joined Sir Keir in Kyiv as he stood shoulder to shoulder with Volodymyr Zelensky to challenge Mad Vlad to lay down his weapons and come to the negotiating table. Speaking at a press conference in the grounds of the Ukrainian presidential palace, Sir Keir said it is time to win the battle for peace. The PM said, "All of us together with the U.S. are calling Putin out. Military aid to Ukraine will again be ramped up, so it will be armed to the teeth to take on the Red Army if Putin refuses to comply." Sir Keir said there is unity and strength as around 30 countries across Europe and including Canada, America, and Japan are signed up to the plan. But Russian figures immediately hit back at the peace plan. Dmitry Medvedev, the former leader of Russia, fumed online. "Shove these plans into your pan-gender *********. The 3-day V-Day ceasefire that Putin announced has now ended, while the leaders are still in Kyiv. And Ukraine has accused Russia of already breaching the truce numerous times with bomb raids and gunfire. U.S. intelligence warned that Putin could plot a massive airstrike on Kyiv, where world leaders today gathered. American officials felt pressed to issue a public warning which read, "The U.S. Embassy in Kyiv has received information concerning a potentially significant air attack that may occur at any time over the next several days. The embassy, as always, recommends U.S. citizens be prepared to immediately shelter in the event an air alert is announced." A similar warning was issued on November 20th last year, one day before Russia struck Dnipro with an Orshnik ballistic missile. Intelligence has revealed that Russia plans to close the airspace over its Kapustin Yar missile test site between 6 a.m. on Monday and 6 a.m. on Tuesday.